This is Stef Renee. We're here at the WURD studios with one of our WURD Backstage episodes, and I'm thrilled to be here with a young lady that we have seen build her canon of work, as you described it, at last night's screening, and it's still very much in process, and we want to talk a little bit about that. The Golden Globe nominated director, Ava DuVernay.
That sounds weird. That sounds weird, but thank you.
Yes, indeed. Well, we're glad to have you here. Glad to have you back in Philadelphia. And after last night's screening, this moment to have an early discussion with some of your fans and people who are very much thrilled about this film coming to be. So I want to start talking about, and I don't know whether you consider yourself a spiritual person or whether, you know, that's in your space, but this idea of the film sort of waiting for you. 6 different directors before you officially became assigned to it. And this, it seems to be a bit of a passion play for you in terms of being able to present this to the world. Do you think about the relevance of this film kind of waiting for you to be attached to it and you being the vehicle to bring it to be?
I think of it more that the film wanted to be made now, wanted to be in the world now. I think there's, you know, if you think about this film coming out a year ago, it wouldn't have had the same resonance as it does now. I mean, we're in a state of nationwide civil unrest, of folks amplifying their voices saying this is wrong, police aggression against the black body is wrong, whether I'm white, whether I'm black, whether I'm Pakistani, Sri Lankan, Korean, I can recognize that a man being strangled on camera and there being no legal recourse, no action taken is wrong. And so whether it's Mike Garner or Eric Garner or Mike Brown or Trayvon Martin or Oscar Grant or Tamir Rice or any of them, it continues to happen. Jimmy Lee Jackson was the person that it happened to during the Selma campaign. And so you just see that it's on a continuum. So I really do feel that the film is in the air at this moment, that it is the right time. Oprah calls it divine timing. David says he felt, you know, God tell him that it was going to be this time, and it is so. So I dwell in that space, and I'm happy that it's here.
And looking at Selma being the latest incarnation of your creative vision, one of the things that I thought about after seeing the film last night is that you tend to tell stories of liberation in many different ways, whether we're talking about a family sort of liberating themselves from grief and getting a chance to bond as they did in I Will Follow. Of course, we talk about the incarcerated and the rights of the incarcerated and the families they leave behind in middle of nowhere. Even the 30 for 30 piece that you did on Venus is about her asserting her rights in tennis and being paid what she's worth. And here we now have this story that connects with the civil rights movement. Have you thought about the idea that this is an ongoing theme sort of for you in the work that you create?
Well, you know, it's always wonderful when you speak with someone who's smart and they can articulate things that you might not have seen. I mean, when you're working organically, you're just working in the moment. I've not threaded it together in that way. I know how I feel. I know the stories in general that I'm attracted to. I know that I'm trying to illuminate the lives of black people in an intimate way, in a nuanced way through all of the work. But yeah, no, I would agree with you. I think that's definitely there. It's lovely to be in a space now where I have enough things where people are starting to see threads that, you know, and talk about it or think about it in that way. And that's why I say a canon of work, because, you know, I think, you know, multiple projects speak more loudly to one point than just one project. You know, I look at Spike Lee's career and I can see an overall statement told through many different angles through his work. So that's what I hope to do, and I embrace what you say.
Thank you. Well, you know, I also think about, since you mentioned Spike, you are developing a sort of a team of players, people that you can go to that you know can articulate the stories in the way that you would like them to. And you mentioned last night that David Oyelowo is sort of like your muse now. Do you look forward to doing other projects with him in the future?
Yeah, well, it's the second film I've done with him. I did 2 films with Omari Hardwick. I've now done 2 films with Lorraine Toussaint. I never thought of myself as putting together kind of a troupe in that way, but I think it just comes when you meet like-minded people. you like to work with them, and these are folks that I enjoyed the process with. I mean, it's one thing to create the thing, to make the work, that it's enjoyed, but also as artists, the experience is also part of the high.
Yeah.
So if it's going to be a drudge and you're working with people who have different behavior, different ideas about how to do the work, it takes away from the work. So yeah, I plan to work with David again. I plan to work with a lot of the people that I've worked with on this film again. But then also I think, as Black filmmakers, we are responsible to break our actors, you know what I mean? To introduce them, to break them onto the scene. And so as much as I would like to just stay with the folks that I'm comfortable with, I have to keep looking, keep mining, because if I don't cast, the new Black actors and actresses, or the ones who've, been around forever that no one's using, then who will do it? So I need more roles, I need more movies to spread it all around.
And that brings us back to Affirm.
Yes.
So in addition to the work that you've done behind the camera,
A nice transition.
But it's really important that you have created a vehicle through telling these stories to allow other films to come to the forefront.
Yes.
We had an opportunity to speak to the director of Vanishing Pearls,
Yes.
which was Affirm's first documentary.
Yes.
We had an opportunity to speak to William Bronner with 25 to Life for World AIDS Day, and I know that you partnered with Ryan Coogler to do a special screening in response to the protest movement that's happening now. So what you're doing when you're not behind the camera telling these stories, I think, is equally important to continuing the tradition of making sure Black films get made.
Yes, no, absolutely. And I just have to say, within all of that you're talking about, you're saying we had an opportunity, but really have to thank you and this station for being really our partners in this market in a way that's for Affirm. Paramount's a different story. They are releasing Selma, and they're an entity that I don't control, but I do control Affirm, and I do just thank you very much personally for always amplifying the voices of our filmmakers and the stories that we need. I mean, you can come into a market, you can make a film, but if the people that have the power are not willing to put it on and help amplify it, it doesn't really go anywhere. So thank you for that. And no, I think I take a very activist stance around the Black cinematic image. I know it affects the way we see ourselves and the way that we are seen. And so it is paramount, it is tantamount that we treat those with care, that when we see someone that's telling a story, that we bring them up, that we watch, that we listen, and that we share them. And also that I know that these films are a tool. I know that they're a weapon. Film is a weapon that's been used against us.
Yeah.
It's been used against us to shape who people see us to be, but it's also a weapon that we can use to combat that and to fortify ourselves and to change that view. So don't get me on my about this stuff. But no, it's important, and I thank you for helping.
Indeed. Well, I know that our time is short, but I just want to say also that, there are so many people who are being newly introduced to you because of the buzz that's been created by this wonderful film.
Yes.
But there's also you mentioned that let's get past the first when it comes to the Golden Globe nomination and everything else that you're doing. Are we at a point, do you feel that we are at a tipping point for Black film now where with the recognition, with the stories that have been told, particularly in the last several years, that it will be less strange for us to see fully realized depictions of Black life in America and around the world on the big screen in the future?
I hope so. I mean, it's such a big issue. The bottom line is you had 3 Black women make films this year that were released in theaters by studios. Amma Asante with Belle, myself, and Gina Prince Bythewood with Beyond the Lights. But those are 3.
Yeah.
3 films of 300 films that are released on any given year in the United States by studios and releasing entities, and it's not hardly enough. It's not even a fraction of what it should be. And so we celebrate it. We know that the stories are vibrant. We know that the artists are out there, but it's a pervasive problem in the industry. And you talk about us, I can say that's how unfortunate it is to just have a handful of Black films. What about our brown brethren?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What about? They're not seeing any representations of themselves amplified in a way that's getting national attention. The thing about it is they have networks and radio stations and their own thing like we do as well, but the point of there being, the first Latina, when will that be? How long does it take? for everyone's work to be seen as valid and to be seen as elevated enough to be considered for these accolades. So it's a strange it's a strange problem. In some ways, I was very satisfied with coming to the station and with Mike D.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Just hanging out and showing Affirm films in the way that we do. Would have been happy doing that for many, many years. This Selma has brought it into a different light, a different amplification of the work, and it's lovely, but it's still the same work. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I don't know. There's a lot there. I just know that we just need to keep making movies, keep telling our stories, and hopefully keep finding people who help us get it out in the world.
Indeed. Well, Selma, of course, is a hanky carrier for
You're gonna need a couple tissues.
for so many reasons that people emotionally identify with the feeling that led to that movement and what we're seeing happen in our world now. But we are so enamored with the way you tell our stories and that you are dedicated to doing this. And so WURD will be around as long as you are releasing these movies into the world. We will be around to shout it from the rooftops and make sure that people are coming out to support them.
I love that. Thank you for it.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Like
Bye,
you did last
Philly.
night.
WURD.
That's